This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Aftershok's open ear headphones. Visit spartan.aftershokks.com for $30 off a wireless pair. That's spartan.aftershokks.com.
Welcome to Spartan Up Podcast. We've got Joe, Sephra, Tim, Johnny, Marion, and we've got Lukas Cash. Man, high energy. This guy is
super high
else.
energy. I actually met him by accident. We ended up doing this interview in a closet. Nothing weird went on. Nothing weird went on there. But I think everybody's going to like this one. This one caught me off guard. I think it's going to catch you off guard if you're out there listening. You know, lacrosse. I'll leave you with that. All right. We are here.
Action.
We are here in L.A. for Spartan Up Podcast with somebody I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but I heard it's going to be good.
Very good.
Lukas Cash from Rev Companies. I don't even know, what is Rev Companies?
So Rev Companies, I started my first lacrosse company 15 years ago, focusing on girls, and now we're a national club team. And then the second company was an event company where we run some of the top tournaments and showcases and camps in the country. Then that grew to something I think we can talk about in this conversation is the mental performance and confidence development of young athletes, and then to broaden that to basically everyone who's not an athlete.
So you hold camps all over the country?
We, on the lacrosse side, so the best way to explain it is there's two verticals. Rev Companies vertical 1 is lacrosse. Rev Companies vertical 2 is Rev Mine, our potential development company. And we focus on athletes and we focus on non-athletes, high school and youth, and we're really drilling into girls, which is obviously a huge issue right now. Most girls they don't have role models. Yep. They're not trained, if you will, at a young age to advocate for themselves. They don't ask questions. And so then fast forward 5, 10, 15 years, you have the gender equity issue, right? And so our big thing is we're speaking to some prominent people saying it's too late to fix that issue in college. You have to drill into it at the youth market, the youth age, which is middle school and high school.
Easy to do if you've got a sport like lacrosse. Harder to do if you don't have a sport. Like, how are you getting to the kids?
So,
to the girls?
Literally, every company, as you know, grew from the next, right? Yeah. And so working with some of the top talent in New England, some of the top athletes who now just actually won gold in the U.S. team, they just came back, and they themselves had confidence issues, and they themselves held back. And so you're working with some of the top, kids going to Duke, Northwestern. I mean, you can't get higher in terms of lacrosse. And so to answer your question, we first started our Rev Mind company working with lacrosse players. And then it grew to other sports, and then some pro athletes. And then it's just grown to those out off the field, off the rink, and basically classroom. And so every high school non-athlete or athlete has the same issue. Like, who are they? Like, how do you be you? And no one's discussing this right now in our culture, the notion of be you. Like, the people that you work with and like people that partake in sparring, like, they have an objective. They want to go win something. They train to win this, to be part of this culture, this family. Our high school kids, our youth kids, they're a little lost. Like, they look at Instagram and the girls are saying, okay, so I have to look like that in the thong. And the boys are like, okay, so I have to act like this. And that whole notion of like, who are you? Is now lost, especially in the day of social media. And so that's what we're drilling in on, and that's what we're actually fighting, and getting people to ask themselves, who are they? And then on the girls' side, unlike the boys' side, right? If you're an athlete or non-athlete, if you're a boy, there are role models. I mean, you can just look up, and there are millions of role models. The girls don't have that many. And so how do you bridge that divide? And so that's what we're specializing in now.
So you're bringing in those gold medalists, those athletes.
We're bringing in athletes, CEOs, and
to the schools,
to programs that we're starting to run. I speak weekly to high school kids, and it's always the same thing. It's like, stop being fake, like, know what you want and go get it. And ask questions, and it's okay if you fail. As a matter of fact, you have to fail daily, as you know, right? You have to fail daily to be someone. Exactly. So it's that messaging that I think parents are saying, but you live in the house, so you're a young kid, forget about it. Teachers, they have a hard problem that you have to hit certain exam points, you know? You need certain marks, so especially for these state exams, so teachers can't really do it. And so we're filling what we believe is a huge void.
And so what do the results look like?
The results have been, like, our schedule's insane. I mean, we're so new into this, we don't have actually hard metrics, but we're getting hard metrics. But I mean, we're speaking everywhere. I have a formal tour starting in September. We're speaking throughout this country. Sabrina's trying to book us, globally. But the message is really simple, like, be you. I think for a lot of guys growing up, it's really simple to be a guy, a boy, right? Yeah. Just a goofball running around, tackle football, or if you're not an athlete, then you do something else, maybe you're a gamer. It's really simple. Being a young woman or trying to become that next step into the young womanhood, like, you have a different emotional set. You have different, boxes around you. Yeah. And the whole notion of, like, being you and being confident and asking questions and advocating for yourself and standing up and saying no, like, no one's saying that. Yeah. No one's telling girls that, it's not fucking cool. Like, it's not cool to be fake.
Yeah, right.
It's not cool to be part of this,
I watched it last night. We were leaving and I don't know the whole selfie. I don't follow that stuff at all. But we were walking out of a restaurant, and there were a bunch of women. These were older women. And they're stopping, and they're taking pictures in front of this thing. What the fuck are they doing?
Right. Yeah.
So the young girls are seeing that, right?
No.
Right.
And so our big thing is, and I think you can relate to this. I mean, you're so successful, right? And what you've done.
I don't know how successful I am.
Well, you're still in business. How's that,
I'm
right?
here with you.
Yeah,
So.
in this amazing room.
Right.
So, but the notion is, like, how much talent are you leaving on the table?
Right.
So you just look at it from a male's vantage point. Yeah. Athlete, non-athlete. Like, once you know what you want to do, you go get it.
Yeah.
You're taught. If you have children?
Yes. 4.
4. Me too. What ages?
2 boys, 2 girls, 11 to 4.
Okay, so I'm 3 girls and a boy, 7, age 7 and down.
Got it.
So, you've been on the playground. The boy falls off the swing. Johnny, get up.
Right.
Kate falls off the swing. Oh my gosh, Kate, are you okay?
Not my Kate.
Yeah, but that's why you are.
Yeah.
But most Kates are like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Right. So what does that train that person as she matures? Right. And then why would you expect her to win in the boardroom?
Right.
Like, she's been trained and conditioned in a certain skill set that's not conducive to winning in a boardroom. Right. Or someone comes to you, not to you, but to your HR and says, I should be paid this. Right. Most women do not negotiate salary. They accept.
Got it.
And so this is something that we're focusing on.
We got to teach. And what's the statue on Wall Street? Up against the bowl with the... That is awesome.
Right?
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, that's basically the message.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Our big thing is just be you.
Right.
Whatever that is. Not everyone's going to win.
But by the way, and I had a class yesterday where we talked about this. It's hard for people to figure out who they are. So yes, be you is a good message, but, like, how do you tell the girl, like, who she is? She might not know what she wants to be, or right?
I think perfect question. So my second company was a club team, and I was a college coach lacrosse. We started this club team. My first company was a national camp company. We were having camp. I was 21. I had camps everywhere throughout the country. Right. So when I started the club company, we had boys and we had girls, and it was predicated on three pillars: never quit, team first, and 110%. Right. That's it. Right. And the boys took that, and we go play in tournaments in Maryland, where Maryland was the hotbed at the time. So guys 5'6" were laying out guys our size, and the college coaches were saying, like, how is this possible? It's the expectation level that they want to play, they want to be someone, and they live by these 3 ethos, right? We took it to the girls. People would say to us, you can't teach or coach girls the way you teach and coach boys. Right. And that was the most sexist thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And that's when I knew whatever I thought I was doing, I'm not doing. I'm now doing this.
I love this.
And so then we shut down the boys, because it was just me at the time. I was college coaching the boys and the girls. And then the girls took off. And then we realized we can do events better. And we started running events. Right. And then we realized, wait, like, this is all great, but there's a larger issue right now. And that issue is the confidence and the potential being lost. And so to your question, like, where's this going? Like, how are we going to do this? How do you quantify it? Well, if you're confident enough to ask a question, then you know what you want. And so the problem is...
So you just got to get the girls asking the questions.
Yeah, and just be like, so we get lost in this, thumbing. Everyone's talking about it here at this conference, thumbing. And so after a while, you start seeing things that you think you should be like, or situations you should partake in, and you don't reflect. Right. You don't reflect. You don't ask the question, like, what is it do I actually want? Do I want to wear these jeans, or does Sally have those jeans, so I want those jeans? Do I like my friends? Or are they the cool friends, or the only friends I think I'll have, so I have to put up with their bullshit? I laugh at the fakeness at lunch and all that. Right. And so what we found is, by working with different schools, is, like, every high school in this country has an issue where there are kids sitting alone.
Hey, Colonel Mai, what are you, like, Secret Service or something?
What are you talking about? My Aftershocks.
What are those things?
You like them?
Yeah, they look cool. What is it?
They are cool. They are Aftershocks wireless Bluetooth headphones.
Cool.
They are. They're really cool. They are super lightweight.
Yeah.
They're flexible.
Yeah.
They've got really clear sound. They leave your ear open, which gives
So
you...
like everything you're not. Lightweight, flexible.
I'm not flexible, that's for sure. But anyway, I thought it was appropriate to wear those because they're sponsoring this episode of Spartan Up the podcast.
Oh, thanks, Aftershocks.
Yeah, Aftershocks is great.
What do I do?
Well, you just slip them on just like I had them on.
Okay.
And if you synced it to your phone or your iPad or your computer, your
My
laptop,
sprinkler system.
Anything that can connect. And I don't. There's a whole wide range of things out there.
Oh, it's pretty
But
comfortable.
You can listen to your music.
And the birds. My ears are still open.
Well,
like,
right.
Check
But
it
you
out.
can. Yes. Again, total awareness as whatever you're doing. If you want to hike and go out in the woods, you still have a sense of what's going on around you. You're not covered up, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't need to hear the outside world.
Right, and then the ones that are still wire connected,
Right.
you still
It's
got
such a
that wire,
pain.
and it's a pain, and you just have it, and you're limited. What I really like about these is their range. I don't know what it is, but I know in my house I can go
downrange.
I can go downrange in my house all over, and I still have connectivity. So I can walk around, I can do work, I can be talking to somebody, I can still be listening to Spartan Up podcast in my ear at the same time.
That's awesome. So you're not married to that thing.
No, not at all. That can be in a charging station in the kitchen, and I can be up in the attic doing, working, and be listening.
I would run around in these. All right. Well, we're going to get back to our episode here, but I'm going to go for a forage with my sweet new Aftershocks on. This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Aftershocks open-ear headphones. Visit spartan.aftershocks.com for $30 off a wireless pair. That's spartan.aftershocks.com.
So I want the audience to know what we could take home that you're teaching that we could teach.
Yeah.
Whether we're in a school or right.
So we break it up in
two, three things.
Yeah.
Little things.
So how to win. Right.
Okay.
So first, if you think of the vertical of a child, of a high school kid or younger, then you have the parent or the adult. There's always three things. We always look at things as three things. You can win three things. After three, it becomes too many
much.
balls in the air.
Yep.
So the first thing is, what do you want? Like, do you like where you are?
Right.
And
if you like where you are, then don't
you
bother.
don't need us.
Right.
But most people, and most adults and most children will
not
say
happy where they are.
They'll say no. And then the next thing is, what are you willing to do
to get it?
Meaning, what are you willing to sacrifice?
Right.
And then once you know that, then you're going to win. And if you're like, well, actually, I like my Friday nights. It's similar to you. You're athletes.
Yeah.
If I like my Friday nights at the bar, or I like my Friday nights at the movies, or I like my late nights, then you're not probably going to win. And you're not going to be an entrepreneur. And you're not going to win a race there. And you're not going to find yourself here. And so if you know what you're willing to give up, then you're on the fast track. And the last thing is, what is the number one thing you're weak at? And does it scare you? And if it doesn't scare you, then find your we say the scare point. Like, what's your scare point?
Right.
Find your scare point and go after that right away. Yeah. And so a lot of people, kids, they'll walk by you. They don't say hi. Why? You can't look at me in the eyes?
Right.
Like adults, like here at this conference.
Yeah.
Like what the first keynote said, like hug everyone, that's over the top for most people, but said at least say hi. How many people are saying hi?
No, you're right.
But then how many people are bleeding inside for a connection, and how many deals are not getting done because people who their company sent here on a full ride are not doing their jobs.
Right.
And so that's what we say, like start with hi.
Yeah.
Like if you have a hard time speaking or looking someone in the eyes, start there.
Yeah.
Like if you're the kid in the classroom, and girls do this more than boys, girls will have questions and then say, I'll Google it later. They never do. A boy, like boys, they're like, and they forget things.
Sure.
They're not smart yet in high school and junior high.
Yeah.
Girls will say, I'll Google it later. No, boys will say, I'll Google it later. And they'll say, I'll do it later. You're in school to get smart.
Yeah, ask the question.
Your job is nothing else, and you're already failing at your job. So think about this. So 10 years in school. If I don't do my job daily, I'm now learning how to be a loser. I'm now learning how not to be successful in my job.
Right.
And so these are the things we talk about to kids, and they're like, holy, they can't believe it. And then we say, stop being fake.
Right.
Like, and it's the hardest thing to hear.
Yeah.
And like, you might be you might be the outlier, because you might wake up and stay as you every day. To be this successful, I would say you probably have to be. But most people wake up the true versions of themselves. They get off their bed, they put their slippers on, whatever they do. They brush their teeth, they eat, and then somehow between like the 6 a.m. or 7 when they woke up, and then 9 a.m. they change. And then 12 they're different, and then 2 they're different, and then 3 they're a different fucking person. And then when they go home, they're like, oh, I hit the pillow. I don't feel like me.
Yeah.
And most kids are fake as hell. They're totally fake. And so what we do is like, who's the real you?
Yeah.
And then when we try to
How do you undress that? How do you get down to the real you?
we ask them like a couple different questions.
Yeah.
Like, for my presentations start with, what were you like when you woke up?
Yeah.
And are you the same person right now? Or did you laugh at lunch about something stupid that you knew you probably shouldn't have laughed at, or you didn't even like, but you did it, so be part of the group. And if you did, you're fake.
Right.
So how can you win if you're fake? You know, running what you've done,
Yeah.
you have to be all in. And if you're not, there might be times you doubted it in the beginning, right? But you had a passion, but you were all in.
Always all in.
Always. It's simple concept, right?
All in all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
But kids are not hearing this. And so this is what we're talking about. And a lot of people here are excited about it. We have a podcast and I'm starting. So maybe we'll flip this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I love
we'll
it.
flip
I love
this.
it. Yeah.
But the whole idea about be you, like you could be all in on you. You have one life, one shot, and you don't know when the heart will give out. You don't know when you get hit by a bus.
No.
And the high school kids
Limited
like,
time.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you bring it to reality, and this is how we bring it to reality, you had a question that you didn't ask. They're like, yes. All right, every day of questions you don't ask, they're like, yes. So we'll just say 5 days a week of school. Say you don't ask 5 questions a day. That's 25 questions. Over a course of a year, you're pushing like 800 plus questions. You don't ask.
That you don't have answers to. Yeah.
You're getting dumber. You're
Right.
getting stupid.
Right.
You're getting stupider, if that's
Right.
the word.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like, I never thought of that. And then we say, well, how much are you worth?
Right.
Like, what's your value? Like, how are you helping society? And then we say, well, I like the game. And we say, I'm a comedian. I'm like, good. Then you should follow on YouTube because it's easy. It's in your hand.
Right.
Every comedian, and get so good that you're the next sensation. Because you'll be 16 and everyone wants that 16 to succeed.
This is my message my whole life to people. Nobody listens.
What is what?
This whole message.
We should hang out more.
We got to hang out.
In places like this.
And I got to buy slippers. I didn't even know. Because I don't have
you don't have
slippers.
time.
I
You
go
wake up
right
and start
outside.
running.
I'm in the
Push
mud.
ups.
I got barbed wire over the bed. It's like.
Yeah, you know, I was captain of my lacrosse team in high school.
You
And
were not.
Get out of
captain.
here.
Why? What does that mean?
That's a bigger surprise than the interview.
That's amazing.
Saffron, I'm not
Here I
surprised.
think that I'm supported by my podcast friends. Yeah. Well, I was, Joe.
Captain of the team.
How many on the team?
Yeah, who remembers?
There were 3 of us. We weren't real competitive.
Whatever.
So
It might have
That's a
been
great
It
accomplishment.
might have been junior year.
It's a great
Might have been
accomplishment.
JV. Yeah, well, anyways,
Does Cornell-
lacrosse is a great sport.
Does Cornell have a team?
Sure they do, but at that point I wasn't really hanging out
you
with
know
those
why?
people.
Because you didn't go to Lucas's camps.
It's more because I was like living out on the biodynamic farm way out in the country. Yeah, Lucas is great. Anyone who's supporting young girls, getting them psyched up and getting them into sports, sure, of course, that's awesome.
Empowering women.
Yeah.
I love it.
And not just in a small way. Like he's created an empire. This
Created an empire.
gigantic
He's
lacrosse
doing it,
camp.
He's doing it at scale, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know the way he said it, you know, he said, I did it because no one was doing it. There were no role models for girls. Nobody was taking the interest. And I don't think
know
that
if
was
that's exactly
I was gonna
true,
say,
but
I think there were,
good
but he
marketing
saw an
term.
opportunity to do it even bigger. And I think that might have been it. Is he has 3 daughters. He wanted them to have all the opportunities that he saw for boys. And you know, it's funny, in Canada, women's hockey's become as big as men's hockey. The wrestling club that I ran, girls wrestling was as big as boys wrestling, but it's not always the case. You know, there are a lot of sports that are still the boys' domain, and he saw an opportunity to really champion young women.
Like champion young women, like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts.
Yeah, but I mean, any given weekend in the fall or spring, whatever your regional season is, you know, you could drive by a park, athletic fields, the soccer, you know, I mean, it's nothing but girls. You know, I mean, the girls' teams, I think, outnumber young boys' teams.
Let's chalk that up to success. So that is because that wasn't the case 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
Lacrosse wasn't big 20 years ago.
No,
it was
lacrosse.
only
I'm
big
just
like
talking,
in
there are-
East Coast, certain places, Minnesota.
Listen, I think this guy, what he's doing is wonderful. And I'm same thing. I think anything that helps children in general is great. I think there's opportunities for girls out there in multiple different sports.
Cooking,
but he's
sewing.
picked lacrosse, and I think
Just
it's wonderful. It's a great sport. And I do wish it was around, you know. bigger
You're going to
numbers.
think I'm crazy, but you know I love wrestling like
Yeah.
you love wrestling. And in Canada, I see, and even in Japan, when I was living in Japan, tons of female wrestlers. And it just sounds weird for many people to hear that. I think women should wrestle at a young age. 100%. I don't know what your thoughts are there.
So I can speak that as a wrestling coach. And also, you live in Vancouver right now.
Yeah.
Carol Wynn, Canadian gold medalist in the Olympics, women's wrestling.
Nice.
A really good friend of mine, Tanya Verbeek in Ontario. I think she has a silver and 2 bronzes, 2 silvers and a bronze maybe. Anyway, Canada excels at women's wrestling. And at the club we had an advantage because our school board didn't make us separate the girls and the boys wrestling. And a lot of the Catholic school boards do, and a lot of the other school boards do. They just say they have to wrestle separately. And I think it is a detriment to both the girls and the boys.
Because the girls play at a different level then.
Well, the thing is because when you have the girls and boys wrestle together, they both get tougher. And the reason they both get tougher is because boys naturally are stronger and they're throwing the girls around.
They don't want to lose.
But the thing is, too, some of these girls are really, really good, and they put the boys in their... And so the boys are getting stronger, too. And so it develops them both.
For a year in Japan, my boys were beat up by younger females every single weekend in Japan. That's how good they were, the girls.
Yeah, but it also, though, teaches them respect.
Sure. Right.
You know?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that you're not...
Pushing
There's not a
girls around.
second-class citizens.
That's
You know,
right.
I mean,
Well,
so-
when you separate them and that they're not supposed to wrestle each other, you might hurt the girls or might be sexualized, whatever, and it isn't any of that.
Girls might hurt
these
you.
are just people out there wrestling, period.
But going back to soccer, and I may be wrong here, but what I've always believed is if you look around, women's soccer in the United States has dominated the world, right? I mean, but I think it might be because of exactly what you're saying. Our young girls grow up playing soccer with boys.
Until 12 years old.
Until 12 or 13 years old or something in there. So they've been competing against bigger, stronger kids. A lot around the world, they're still segregated, right? So I think our girls get a big advantage, our women athletes get advantage from when they were younger having to play or being allowed to play or just playing with the boys.
That's what I had growing up with a twin brother. I mean,
sure,
that's all I knew.
That's a great point.
Some that Lucas said,
anything you can do, I can do better.
We did another podcast a while ago with Ryan Mischler, Order of Man, and we talked about how even though it was the Order of Man and how to champion, healthy masculinity, but we said a lot of lessons weren't just for men, they were for anybody. And same with this, even though he's running camps for women, one of the things he talked about that I think is a great lesson for absolutely anybody, he said, how do you win, how do you succeed? And he said, you got to break it down to 3 things. It was, what do you want? What do you need to do to get there?
Yeah, what are you willing to do to get there?
What are you willing to do to get there? And what are your weaknesses? Where are you weak?
Right.
And if you look at those 3 things and actually break it down, and that's a big part of his philosophy. You know, you got to identify the goal. You got to identify what it's going to take to get there and what you're willing to do and to give up to make that happen. And then look at where your weaknesses are. Be honest with yourself for what you need to improve at. That's a pretty solid trio.
I like that a lot. All right. With that said, we are going to close out.
We're finish the podcast.
What do we want?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. We're going to encourage
Tell you where
you
to go.
to follow all of our podcasts. We have great guests like Lucas every week. Spartan Up podcast is at spartan.com/podcast. Follow us on iTunes, on YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss another episode.
Awesome.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Aftershocks Open Ear Headphones. Visit spartan.aftershocks.com for $30 off a wireless pair. That's spartan.aftershocks.com.
Thank you for watching another epic story of success. If you like our message, please share Spartan Up with your friends and subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you catch our show, maybe in the woods. Spartan Up is brought to you by Spartan Race. To find a race near you, visit spartan.com.